Welcome to episode 84 of the Gridiron Garage. Zach's back, and he has a burner account.
Yep. I have 6 of them, too. Just in case you ever want to know who's trolling who.
If you're ever on the internet and someone's pissing you off, it's probably Zach.
Yep. On Instagram, though. Mainly Instagram at the moment. Maybe Twitter soon.
I do have 6 Instagram accounts, but they're for good reasons. Like I said, we think of cool names for like podcasts and shit, and so I fucking claim them. So nobody else steals them. Because you know how hard it is to get Gridiron Garage, just that on Instagram? Pretty hard, because that dude has like 30 followers. And they don't even use the account.
It's like one of those people that they just go out and grab domain names when like the internet first came out and got rich off of it. Like you just be like, oh, Dick's doesn't have a website yet. I'm gonna grab dicksportinggoods.com.
Dude, remember
and you typed in Dick's like a long time ago, Dick's.com brought you to fucking porn site.
Yeah, you're scared.
Oh, man.
You know whoever owned Dick's.com, the Dick Sporting Goods had to buy them out because people kept trying to buy some baseball bats and saw a girl get fisted by a baseball bat.
Remember a few episodes ago, I said that's how I was going to get rich? Just go back to like the 70s and buy a bunch of domains.
Side note, there's a couple guys on Twitter that are famous now. Not like famous, but like in like the Twitter lore. The first guy was some dude that made his Twitter account in like 2005 when Twitter first came out, and he just tweeted out, chillin'. And then he didn't make another tweet for 8 years. And then he said, just got done chilling 8 years later. And then recently, that one was a while. That was like when we were in college when he said, just got done
That's
chilling.
like your Tinder thing.
Everyone was like quoting it, going like, yo, this dude been chilling for 8 years. It's like that. But then recently there was a guy who made another account like back in 2005 when Twitter started.
Is that really when it started?
Yeah, like
that
2005, 2006. So he made a tweet. He made the account. And so the account created like 2005 or 6. Made a tweet that year. And it just said, going to get lunch. Or just ordered lunch. And then literally like a week later, or a week ago in what, 2021. So what is that, 16 years later? He tweeted like, just got back from lunch. So that guy did that, didn't ever use his Twitter, forgot how to log in. And 16 years later, he's like, oh, I wonder if my old Twitter account works, right? Did it and was like, oh shit, dude. I have one tweet on here, just said, just went to go get lunch. And he just said, just got back from lunch. 16 years later, people were like, this dude been at lunch for 16 years.
Damn. It's a long ass lunch.
I know. So, but yes, welcome back to our sports episode 84 of the Gridiron Garage. We're grinding. We're out here. We've been here a while. So, Zach's back. Zach's back. Zach was not here last week. Zach also had a fun weekend in Shitsylvania.
Yeah,
Pittsburgh, as he says. I've never been to Pittsburgh. I think it'd be a cool city to visit, but I heard it's very hilly, Zach. Why don't you recommend it or not recommend it?
So the city itself, I would recommend. I think it's a really cool city. I just call it Schwarber because of their fucking football team.
Yeah, football team sucks.
Yeah. Well, they're actually really good, but they suck in my opinion.
They suck. They suck. They went like 1 for 4 in their last 5 games.
Yeah, they went 11-0, and then what, 1 for 4 to end it off.
Real quick, is Pittsburgh
and lost to the Cincinnati Bengals while doing
it. To Ryan Finley.
While smiling. Real quick, is Pittsburgh really that hilly? I heard people say it's like super hilly.
Yeah, dude. So
it's like a bunch of inclines.
Like when you're sitting where PNC Park is, where the Pirates went, so that's what I went up to Pittsburgh for. If you're sitting on like the third base line, like up high, obviously you got the skyline in one background, and then you have the hills of Pittsburgh, and you're pretty much like surrounded by. It's kind of like here in Cincinnati, how everything comes down to the river.
Yeah,
but it's a lot more drastic of a hill. And like how we have the cut in the hill, they have a tunnel that goes through their hills.
That's pretty
cool.
So
it's a lot smarter. You don't have a big-ass incline into a shitty-ass bridge that's about to fall over. But, again, I would recommend Pittsburgh. I think it's a really cool city. They got like a historic part. I went to old Permane Brothers. You ever heard of that?
Nope.
You ever heard of that?
No.
So back in the day, Pittsburgh's known for the Iron City, Steel City of America.
Yep.
Well, the Permane Bros, I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know. I'm not cultured. But they made a sandwich, and it was pretty much just like, lunch meat sandwiches, turkey, ham, whatever. But they stacked it with a bunch of fries, and dude, this sandwich is no lie like that big.
That's
probably like 6-7 inches high.
How many calories? How many carbs?
It wasn't on MyFitnessPal.
Count your macros.
So I couldn't
count your macros on that, dude.
Dude, I would honestly take a guess. It was probably 1,500 calories just for this sandwich.
Probably like 400 carbs.
Yeah, probably. It had like a nice thick, like Italian bread
and French fries on it. You said?
Yeah, fresh cut French fries. So
it sounds awesome.
Funny story about that place, but I'll get to that in a second. The reason why it's stacked with fries is because back in the day they wanted to give it to the iron workers because the concept of a sandwich was you had one hand to work and one hand to eat. So, you get a sandwich with chips or fries or whatever. They just put the fries on top, and that's what made him famous. So
very cool.
But we were talking to the, I guess, host, bouncer guy, whatever you want to call him, because you kind of just like show up and you don't put your name on a list. It's like a fast food joint, but they make you wait outside. And so we waited for about 20 minutes. And so he was talking about he went to Cincinnati the same day that the Ryan Shazier hit was, what I'm talking about with the Bengals. And because we talked that I was from Cincinnati or whatever. And so he was saying that Juju got suspended that game, and he actually worked at that restaurant for a week, and he almost cut his finger off cutting potatoes, and they told him that he had to go home.
Juju
funny.
did?
Yeah, Juju
does some crazy shit, dude. I'm not surprised.
They were like, dude, you need to slow down. Like, you're about to cut your hand cutting these potatoes. Like, you got to go play for the fucking Steelers next week, dude.
Yeah, that's funny.
Could you imagine the rep that sandwich shop would get for Juju cutting his finger off?
What in the world?
I think it was just a publicity thing why he was there, but
Yeah. Well, he does stuff like that all the time, though.
yeah.
You know what? I'm happy and I'm disappointed that you didn't wear the ugliest shirt that I might have ever seen in my entire life.
Dude, that was a cool shirt, bro. So he's talking about the Pirates were doing a Hawaiian shirt giveaway, and I actually forgot to wear it today. But it was actually a pretty cool shirt, dude.
It's all right. If it wasn't for the peas on it, it would be all right. But it is a bright yellow
shirt.
Hawaiian shirt. And by yellow, like majority yellow.
Yeah.
And it has like Pittsburgh peas in all different orientations all over the front of it.
So I went to a Pirates game, but
Cool stadium.
it was a really cool stadium.
I heard a lot of people have said it's like that. It's like in the top 3 stadiums. Like,
Dude, I would put it in my top 5, no doubt.
like in the entire,
Maybe top 7.
Like people, I mean, Jake can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like one of the consensus when people say what are the best stadiums in the MLB, people always say Pittsburgh, and people say San Francisco's a lot, like 2 of the best stadiums.
Yeah.
I haven't been to San Francisco.
I've never
yet,
been to
but-
Pittsburgh.
And
I've
Dodgers
seen,
and Boston.
Yeah.
I would say those are top 4.
I've
Oh,
seen
dude, Boston's
regarded.
sick.
I've seen San Francisco's. I've never been in it, but I drove past it and it looked sweet. It's like around the bay,
Right.
so it's awesome.
So I've never been to a baseball stadium, and I want to say that I've hit 21 now, to where I've seen more football jerseys than baseball jerseys at a stadium. And granted, they are the same color, but I haven't, there was more Ben Roethlisberger jerseys than there was, I don't even know who plays for the Pirates anymore because they traded away all their fucking players.
I actually got a fun Pittsburgh fact for you. Do you guys know what the Steelers logo is?
It's the 3 stars for the 3 bridges, right? Or
So
like the
it's
iron something.
It's like a steel logo, like it's like a steel company logo from back in the 30s and 40s.
is it?
Like it was like that was like the logo, like so this is in steel, those 3 colors and stars and stuff, and they just adopted it, and made it the Steelers logo.
That's cool.
Yeah, fun fact, Steel City, I guess.
I guess it's better than like the Guardians.
They
or
go out of
whatever.
business? It'd be hard to go out of business when you get that much free pub.
I'm not sure. I know the Steelers didn't go out of business, so
They should.
Too bad, dude. Too bad.
But yeah, if you ever roll through Pittsburgh, dude, I'd recommend it. It's a cool little city.
It is cool. I like how the outskirts, like a normal city, the outskirts are like ghetto for whatever.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the outskirts are like trailer parks in the hills.
Oh, really?
You go to the outskirts, it's just like hilly trailer parks for like a couple miles just in the outskirts.
That's crazy.
It's
They
quite
have one of
interesting.
those.
Instead of having a normal, I'm not like, what would you say, the shotgun house styles?
Yeah.
Like instead of having shotgun houses,
Like
they
in
just
Covington?
have trailers all over the hills.
I mean, that's probably all you could have put. Or I guess that would probably be harder because you have to bring those bitches in with a semi truck. I don't know. But what was I gonna say? Oh, they have one of those like, what do you call those things when you ride up the hill on them and like you sit level, but the thing is like angled with the hill? It's like a gondola kind of,
yeah.
but it's on like a track.
A tram?
Is that what they're called?
I don't know. A tram is normally a big one that fits like 500 or 50 to 100 people.
No, this one probably only fit like
A
15 or
gondola?
20. Yeah,
Is
something like
normally
that.
like
but it
4
wasn't
to
like a
5
ski lift idea.
to
It was
8
like
people.
it was like a train track kind of thing. Anyways, they had one that went up the city, and you can kind of like overlook the 3 rivers and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Didn't
But,
Cincinnati used to have something like that?
I don't know.
It was like on tracks and it went up a big hill. I don't know. Doesn't exist anymore. I know that.
Probably not.
we got the streetcar
Oh, we got the streetcar.
that goes in like a mile loop.
that everyone hates.
Yeah,
that no one rides.
yeah. They should have put like a bike lane in there. I feel like that would have done a lot better. Like a bicycle lane or like
I
a
always
bird
thought it would
scooter
be
lane.
cool to like commute on a roller coaster.
Yeah,
That'd be crazy.
Yeah,
awesome.
Like instead of having a train, like you just get
do a
online.
couple of loops and corkscrews on your way to the game.
Like you're driving down 75 and the roller coaster's just zooming past you, and everyone's woo! on their way to work.
I just imagine
cases and stuff.
like, back in the day when everybody had to wear suits to the office.
Yeah.
Like just a bunch of like pissed off people in suits trying to type on their like computer, like just fucking going around in loops and shit.
Their ties are like flipping back in the wind. They're holding their hats on.
That's funny. Oh shit.
Commute by roller coaster. Make it happen, Cincinnati.
No. Jake, shh. That's our idea.
Our idea.
Better trademark it.
It can be our idea, but I still
just
don't
gotta
see
get
a
some-
future.
How are we gonna
We
get
got to get
funding
some
for that?
funding and some infrastructure from
in
the
the
city. We're good.
engineering and I don't think so,
Dude, we'll
even
let-
if it is our idea, we're not making the money from it.
We'll let Kings Island coin it, but we'll just, be the founding fathers of it kind of thing.
I don't know.
Maybe
I
we'll
think
be
it'd
the
awesome.
logo.
The logo?
Gridiron Garage logo.
Oh, yeah, that'd be sick. Kind
Yeah,
of like the
we're
Steelers.
We're just on the front of the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Gridiron Garage train.
And then they have speakers in the.
It's just our podcast playing.
Yeah, they're playing our podcast in the morning to wake people up.
But it would have to, like the
Gridiron
rider would
Garage
have
morning
to
show.
press start so we can get the ad money. That's like cheating, man. That's one play for like 50 people. Fuck that.
Every rider has to play start themselves.
Dude, that'd be cool though to have a Gridiron Garage morning show if we ever got big. I'd fucks with it.
Morning show, yeah.
Yeah, every
I
morning.
like morning shows.
Like morning daily sports talk.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
I'd be down
Jake,
for it.
we coined that. So,
So speaking of Schittsburg
yeah,
and the Pirates, you mentioned one thing. They traded away their players, right?
they do.
Because it was a trade
Gotten rid of
deadline for the ages, gentlemen. I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this might be definitely the biggest trade deadline in recent like MLB history that I can think of, right?
Epic.
And people were saying like going
Huge.
back like 30, 40 years, like this is one of the biggest trade deadlines ever.
Andrew McCutchen played for the Phillies.
Andrew
by the way.
McCutchen does play for the Phillies now.
And the Pirates played the Phillies when I went, so that was kind of
Did
cool.
he get a standing O?
Yeah, he got a big
I figured
standing
he
O.
did. He's
But,
a former MVP for the Pirates,
yeah.
the Buccos.
And my boy, Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper, you get to see Hop.
Yeah.
Hoppa.
Batting like 295.
Did he hit the inside the Parker when you were there?
No,
When was that?
Pretty sweet.
It was a while ago, wasn't it?
I don't know. The Phillies lost when we were there.
Bryce Harper, so I'm pretty sure Bryce Harper didn't make the All-Star game, which sucked because he basically started the season out pretty slow, so didn't make the All-Star game, and he started peaking like the month before the All-Star game, but his numbers weren't good enough to get voted in.
Yeah.
And now he's like, he gets his numbers, he's like, he should have been an All-Star. So that kind of sucks for Bryce.
His numbers quite. I mean, his batting average just hurts him so much.
Yeah,
but
but
he gets
he's
walked.
hitting really good now, though.
He's so good at taking walks.
Yeah, he's hitting really good though this year now. Like
He had
he's
good
got-
numbers
and he hits
on
home runs.
Saturday.
No, yeah,
I mean,
he's hitting really good. He's like ever since like that month before the All-Star break. Now he's hitting like 340 or something crazy. He's hitting awesome.
You know who's hit better?
Who?
Joey Votto.
Joseph
Player
Daniel.
of the month.
Yeah, Joey Votto was Player of the Month.
You see that India was Rookie of the
India
Month?
Rookie of the Month. Let's
yeah,
freaking
dude.
go, dude.
Kyle
Red's
Farmer?
taking over.
Kyle Farmer's had a really good.
Dude,
Kyle Farmer,
guys-
yeah.
you know what's going to be the ultimate David Bell move? Kyle Farmer's going to be fucking killing it at shortstop, and then they're going to put Senzel in shortstop just because of David Bell would do
I
that.
don't think he will. I think he likes playing the numbers.
No, David Bell came out and said that Senzel will be rehabbing at shortstop in AAA. So, in my mind, why would you put him there if
I'll
you're not going to bring
believe it
him
when
up?
I see it. I don't think they're going to pull Farmer until he starts not hitting good again.
Yeah.
I think if he just keeps balling out, he's going to play like probably 4 out of every 5 games at shortstop.
I mean, if we're talking Reds talk, I mean, he did let Naquin play it out when Naquin was hitting absolute bombs this year, even though they have so many outfielders to play.
Right.
So I got to ask you guys then before I get into my sob story. Are you guys upset the Reds didn't make a bigger splash in free agency or what? I'm just curious.
I thought they did all right. I mean, their problem was obvious in its bullpen.
Yeah, and they got bullpen guys.
I mean, you could have got bigger name bullpen guys, but I feel like the bullpen guys, they did what I thought they needed to be done. They didn't exceed my expectations, and they didn't like bust.
So the only thing I'll say with they got 2 bullpen guys, right? Both from the Yankees. So they got 3. So I know they got the 2 from the Yankees. So they got Sessa, who's actually been pretty decent this year, and then they got what's the other guy from the Yankees they got? He used to play for the Cubs. I cannot remember his name.
I'm not sure, but they also got Lorenzen back on top of it.
Mikey Biceps is back.
Mikey
I saw
Biceps,
that.
and he pitched good his first outing. So
I don't know about the other guy they got from the Yankees. I know he used to play for the Cubs. I remember when he was at the Cubs because I remember he was fucking terrible. So I don't know how he's doing this year though, because I mean bullpen pitchers can 1 year they can be awesome, 1 year they can be shitty. So he could be having a decent year. But I just remember when he was with the Cubs, he was terrible. Like on good Cubs teams, like 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, and they were like a perennial playoff team. He was like terrible. So I don't know how that bodes for his career with the Reds. Typically, if you're a bad pitcher in another stadium, you're probably going to be a bad pitcher at the Red Stadium. But, yeah, I was just curious. You guys thought they should have gotten more bats, should have gotten different pitchers. I'm just curious what you guys thought.
I'm okay with it. I mean, like Jake said, they kind of addressed their issues. I was listening to the radio, and I don't know which Castellini it was or who. I don't know. It was somebody in the front office. But anyways, they were saying, like, if we were going to make a bigger splash in free agency, we would have had to trade away players. And this is probably the smartest thing that the Reds have ever said was, if we're in the position that we are, why trade away players to make our team worse?
No, I agree.
And I was like, well, I mean, I guess that makes sense because
I agree with that.
If you were to get a bigger name guy like, Nick Castellanos would probably have to be on the trade block, or, I don't even know who else, or a prospect, Hunter Green or something like that.
So that's the one thing I noticed with the Reds is like they're in that in-between phase where they're like right there on the cusp, like a playoff team. Yeah. For the last year, they obviously made it with the extra team. This year, they're kind of in the same position they were in last year, really. It's just that we don't have the extra playoff team.
Right.
And it would hurt your team to trade away a current player that starts because then you're going to hurt yourself for next year and this year. It would also hurt yourself to trade away a good prospect who's maybe a year or two away when your team is right there on that cusp. But you don't want to get rid of like the big guys like Green or Barrera or those guys that are Lodolo, those guys that are going to be there in a couple of years because they could be a player that could help your playoff push in like a couple of years. So I understand that. I think it was going to be really hard for them to get a player like Trevor Story or get some of these other players that they were like linking them to without giving away either a current player on their team that they didn't want to or a really good prospect. So I think the Reds did fine for what they were doing. I think it's still going to be hard for them to make the playoffs because the Brewers just, dude, I don't know. They just keep winning. But
they're going out west, though.
They're going out west.
Beat up. Let's hope.
But
it would be interesting since they didn't do anything with Castellanos if they're going to try to trade him or just let him go in free agency.
Trade's done.
Well, like after his contract.
Oh, dude! After this year,
he still has
he's
going to
go get paid. No, he's got opt out, but he does have another year.
Okay,
so he's going to opt out because he's about to make a shitload of money.
So,
and the way I'm thinking is that the Reds would probably be more likely to sign Jesse Winker than Nicholas Castellanos. So they'll probably let him walk. And I don't know who they got outfielders, but not at Nick Castellanos level. Yeah. So they're going to have to try to find a replacement or some way to fill that production that is going to be gone.
As a, me being serious and not just like joking about people, because I know that I've joked about Dak's injury in the past, but, you never want to see people get hurt, but I think that this hurts or helps the Reds that he got hurt and, nobody wanted to trade for him. Mm-hmm. And could it be like, he still was having big numbers, but what if he comes back and he like drops off drastically and the Reds be like, all right, man, we got you. Like, you ain't going to get money anywhere else. So, this injury might have helped the Reds, but I mean, he does have stats to prove.
think he would get. I mean, his last 3 years combined, his last year with the Cubs and his first year with the Reds, he was still really good.
Mm-hmm. Right,
really good. I think that even if he came back and wasn't hitting 320 or whatever, was hitting like 250 or something like that, he'd still get paid by some team. Yeah. I think it's going to be really hard for the Reds to keep him. I think they're definitely not just going to be like, no, go somewhere else. They'll probably throw an offer out and say, hey, this is all we can afford. But I think they probably have an idea in mind about what they'll pay for him. Mm-hmm. It's probably not going to be enough. They're probably not going to want to spend. He's probably going to be requesting like $30 million a year or something like that, 25 to 30 a year. That's going to be a lot of money, especially when you got to pay a guy like Winker. You said so.
The homegrown guy like Winker.
Yeah,
Winker's drafted through the Reds. Mm-hmm. Homegrown guy.
All right, Griff.
New Jersey boy.
Before you start, I would like to say that we're going to have a conversation about salary cap after this. Not a debate, a conversation, because I found some pretty interesting numbers about salary cap.
What I want to say that has nothing to do with salary cap at the moment, right? It's just more so, you had a good weekend. I had a fucking shitty weekend, dude. My weekend sucked.
Awful weekend for
my
Griffin.
Weekend sucked. Nothing was worse than me literally in a meeting at work at like 3:50, right? And I'm in this meeting, and I'm like casually checking, like just updating my phone, just updating Twitter to see, like, I was like, dude, we got 10 minutes left. Brian, the other two are gone. Rizzo and Baez are gone. Just Bryant, almost there, right? Come on, right? And I literally update at 3:57, and it says, some guy says Bryant to the Giants. It's like, oh my God. And I'm in the meeting. I had to hold my reaction because I'm in a meeting at work, right? I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe it. And so it's very disappointing just to see, like, I feel like you never really realize how long these players are like part of your life when you're that big of a fan for a team, right? So I think about these guys, to put in perspective, when Rizzo got called up, I remember when Anthony Rizzo got called up, and I remember when Chris Bryant got called up. So I remember when Rizzo got called up, they got him in a trade from the Red Sox or from the Padres. They got him in a trade from the Padres, and they brought him up. When he got brought up, we were all freshmen in high school. Think about that. I remember when he got brought up, we were freshmen in high school. I remember being so hyped about this guy. I was like, oh, the Cubs suck. We're going to lose 100 games, but we got this prospect who's like a top 5 prospect in baseball.
He's been in the league for 11 years.
11 years.
Yes.
Holy fuck.
All with the Cubs. So, I take it back. So he had a third of a season with the Padres. So his first year in the majors was with the Padres, but he only played like the end of year 40-man roster call-up. Yeah. So and then the Cubs got him. So I remember that happened. I remember when they drafted Javi Baez, and I was hyped because he was like a top pick. And then I also obviously remember when Chris Bryant got called up because it was like so hyped to like just watch him play, and I'm pretty sure he struck out a bunch in his debut.
I think Rizzo was on for 11 years. Chris Bryant for 8. So 7.
Chris Bryant was drafted in 2014 or 2013. He was drafted, so he was on the Cubs since 2015. So he was on the Cubs for like 6 years, but he was like the myth, right?
And then Baez was a year after, right?
Baez was the year after Bryant. So basically, the way I attribute it is like, Baez got called up in 2015 also, later in the season, after Bryant.
Okay.
They both got called up the same year because they both won the World Series the next year. But, like, I remember, like, just the mythos of Bryant. Everyone's like, oh, this dude's in the minors. He won high school player of the year. Then he played 3 years in the major, or in college. Won college player of the year. Then he went and won minor league baseball player of the year. Then he went and came in the league, and he won rookie of the year. So it was
Wasn't Chris Bryant the one who they kind of screwed over with their contract?
Yeah, so that was one of the things. Like, that's why I mentioned, like, they've just consistently, like, not wanted to pay him what he's due, and then they messed up his service time. He should have been eligible for a contract last year.
Yeah.
And they did his service time thing. They made him wait an extra like 30 games in the season, so he's considered not a rookie, or wasn't considered a full year service time. So they had to wait another year to pay him essentially.
Gotcha.
So they did that eventually. Personally, I think I ended up fucking him over as far as like how they could have paid him and how much they could have paid him and gotten a discount on him. It's just really upsetting. I mean, I've come down a little bit from my initial response. You guys saw my initial response. How sad and pissed off I was.
Sad.
I'm still sad. I'm still sad.
I feel bad for you, man.
Upset.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like the team you love and the players that you love.
And they won a World Series.
That won the World
I mentioned
Series
it, like talking to my grandpa after they won a World Series. I was like, oh man, we were like talking mad shit. We're going to win 4. We're going to win 5. You know, all these guys are like 25, 26 years old.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're just going to get better. But just like seeing them like not, I mean, so today Jed Hoyer, the GM, basically said he wanted to re-sign them all, and he tried to re-sign them all, but they weren't at the same spot on contracts. To the extent of that, I don't know what that means. If that's like, you know, $6-7 million a year apart, or that's like, you know, they were like pitching pennies, like, oh, they were only offering $1 million less, and the players are like being cheap. I don't think it was that. There was also rumors that Bryant at one point had turned down a $200+ million contract, which he came out and said that's completely false. So I don't know if that's what the details on that were. I know for a fact they offered Anthony Rizzo like $9 million a year, like last year, and he like laughed at it or something like that because he said I can go to another team that'll pay me like 16 or 15 easy. You know what I mean? The Baez one, I think he was definitely asking for too much money. I know Zach's got his opinions on Baez, which he can say whenever he wants. I'm fine with it. But
now that he's not on the team, now that he's not on the team,
I just think they're a little bit inaccurate. But he definitely wasn't worth $200 million a year, or $200 million. I don't think he was worth that much.
100 strikeouts.
I don't think he was. Yeah, he also drives in 100 runs, so I'll take that. So, but what I'm saying is, Zach's trying to bite his lip right now. Like he's pissed off. No. Like RBIs aren't one of the most important stats in baseball. But anyway,
God, I had a popcorn kernel. Okay. It's on my tongue. Look.
Right. Oh, okay.
Yeah. See.
But anyway, it's just upsetting to see them like pinch pennies so hard when I know they're not in a hurting for money. Like they're spending way less money this year already than they have been the last like 4 years. And then they're going to be spending an insanely low amount next year. So I'm kind of hoping that they're going to like try and get someone in free agency, someone young. You know what I mean? That they can kind of basically make like a big player on their team. But we'll have to see. They're going to be spending like barely any money next year, which is what I'm not used to. I'm used to them being like in the top 10 spending. And I think they were 15th this year, something like that, right around there. And now next year they're going to be like probably in the lower quadrant, around like the 20s or less, just for the amount of money they're spending. But they got some good prospects. Didn't get quite the guy I wanted. I wanted the Giants catcher if they were going to get rid of Bryant. He was like the number like 20 prospect in baseball or something. They didn't get him. So I feel like they kind of settled for the Bryant trade. I feel like it went that far to the last minute. They kept trying to get that guy, and the Giants wouldn't admit. And so last second, they like it was in a concede off. Which person's going to concede their player first? And eventually, the Cubs were just like, all right, fuck it, we'll take those guys. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So not that they didn't get good prospects. They're still high up in the Giants organization, and this one dude has like insane power, but I don't know. It's just upsetting. So the last thing I'll say with prospects is Steve Cohen, who's the owner of the Mets, right? He basically said like people were like shitting on prospects, figuring out these guys I never heard of. But he goes, most MLB front office look at like certain prospects if you get enough of them as like a 5-to-1 deal because you might get 3 guys, and if you hit on one of the 3 guys, like playing the lottery, you hit on one of the 3 guys, and he's gonna be better than the guy you traded, then you won, right? Mm-hmm. But that's the thing. It's literally like almost like a gambling sometimes with these minor leaguers. You look at the guy ahead of Chris Bryant and Mark Appel. He was drafted first overall ahead of Chris Bryant. Never pitched a single inning in the majors, right? Yeah. He was a number 1 overall pick. So there's guys that people are like, oh, you can't get miss on this guy, and then they end up missing. So I feel like it's just so risky when you've got a guy who won all these accolades, right? And it's not like he's declining, right? He's having a way better year than he had last year, and he's having one of the, better years he's had in a while. I shouldn't say a while. He's a 4-time All-Star. But you think they would re-sign the guy that's literally entering his prime, right at the start of his prime at 29 years old? Because what's baseball prime, Jake? Like 28 to like 34, they say, something like that?
Yeah.
So he's like right there in that prime years, having the best season on your team.
Who is this?
Chris Bryant.
Bryant.
Yeah, and then they decide like not to pay him his money. It kind of sucks. You know what I mean? Seeing the video of him getting all like sad when he realized he was traded literally the minute before the deadline was up, and that
he was even in like his practice uniform.
Yeah,
and everything.
They knew they were going to trade him at that point.
Right.
That's a foregone conclusion. Why not tell him, hey, dude, I'm going to be honest with you, you're getting traded. You know what I mean? Like don't show up to the game, right? It's going to make it worse and make it worse for you.
Yeah.
They didn't even tell him. He found out on Twitter before he got a call. He got a call from the front. If you saw him on the phone, that was after he found out.
That's how it always happens, though.
I know, but
when Puig got traded, you seen the guys in the stands telling Winker,
yeah, like
Winker,
yeah.
No, I
Puig
agree.
got traded, and he's
so
like,
I agree. It does happen like that.
He's right there.
He's about to kick someone's ass on home plate.
I'll say with
punch.
Yeah.
Dude,
I'll say with the Bryant one though, it's kind of a catch-22 because he knew he was probably gonna get traded. You know what I mean? It was like one of those. He knew he was gonna get traded, but like. It just sucks to I feel like to find out on the internet that the team you've been called home for 6, 7, 8 years of your life, and that like the fans like love you. You're like the first son, never got to pay for a beer in that city again.
Yeah.
And then you find out just from Jeff passing this tweet notification.
Think
saying,
about
hey,
how
traded.
fast news travels on Twitter versus
right,
a phone call. Like you can find news out way faster than by the time your phone rings and you pick it up.
I agree with that. What my point is, I don't know what the details
shitty.
of how the trade works. Like if they were like back and forth, then last second, like okay, we traded them. I feel like he had been traded for minutes or so before he found out. Like I feel like they had enough time to be like, hey, just get Chris on the phone before we break the news to anyone that he's traded. Like just we want to let him know.
Because somebody had to let Jeff Passan know before.
Yeah, exactly.
They tweeted it out.
And then you also got Rizzo walking around the stadium after the game after he gets traded. Yeah. Walk around the ivy with his little dog Kevin Rizzo. He's a little wiener dog.
So Zach actually sent me some breaking news, and that's the Cubs traded their center field ivy for 2 starter plants and a bush to be named later.
So, I saw that. I also like the assholes on Twitter posting pictures of Baez, Bryant, and Rizzo going. All three of them hit their home run in the first at bat.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine what they would do on the same team together? People saying shit like that.
Dude, the one that cracked me up was it was on Friday. It was like if you're going to the Cubs Nats game, please bring your glove. They might ask you to play.
Yeah, I saw that. But yeah, the last thing I'll say, it's upsetting to see the core who literally won a World Series with that team just like 5 years ago leave.
Great.
You know what's more upsetting?
It also what
is that Cleveland Indians do the same thing and still win.
Yeah, I know you're right. It's true. I will say it sucks. It really sucks though because everyone definitely wanted them to re-sign Bryant and Rizzo. If you look at the Cubs debate, it was Baez. That was the debate one, which I don't think they should have signed him. I think they should have tried to re-sign him, but not for $200 million. That's way too much money.
He's the riskiest one.
Oh yeah, he's 100% the riskiest one for sure. He's 100% the riskiest.
And
one.
plus, I feel like the Cubs are still stained and scared because they signed Hayward for so much money.
Yeah,
who didn't quite pan out.
So yeah,
although people say his defense, but I'm not fucking buying it.
I mean, he's out of here. He's a really good defender, but is it worth $200 million for just a glove?
Who, Baez?
No, we're talking about Hayward. Would you pay $200 million for a glove? Right?
It's definitely not an outfield.
Yeah, unless he's throwing everybody out.
No, I agree. He has to have a good arm. He has a lot of outfield putouts, but he's not like a.
Is his brother still in the league?
No,
or did he get phased out?
I don't think so. But what I was pointing at is like they definitely had the money to. They could have easily signed Bryant and Baez, Bryant and Rizzo, and still been able to go out and get like a pitcher or get something else. That's what they needed was starting pitching. That was their biggest issue this year. Was batting average and starting pitching. Outside like Rizzo and Bryant, right? Their batting averages were like not very, very good on the team in general. So that was one of the big issues. And as I told you before, Zach, I've been a little bit easier on people with bad batting averages if they drive in runs. The problem was the only one that had a bad batting average driving in runs was Baez. The rest of the team not driving in that many runs.
Yeah.
But their big issue was starting pitching. It was basically Kyle Hendricks go out one day a week and get you like a quality start, and then the rest of the team it was just like toss a ping pong ball at the beer cup and see if it goes in because it was either going to be a 7-run game or they were going to give up like 2 runs. It was just so much inconsistency, and it just sucks. They probably could have paid those 2 players for roughly around $50 million a year. Which is a lot of money tied up in 2 players, I know, but they're guys that are both really good, and they still would have had tons of money to play with. I think COVID year, I don't know how much money they lost, but that's something that affected the decision was the COVID year and the fact they went on an 11-game losing streak. So, but I don't attribute the 11-game losing streak to those 3 core guys. I attribute to the pitching because it was really bad. The team was bad in general.
So do you have anything on the Cubs before you move on? Because I want to add to some things that Griff said.
We can go to that before we go to the rest of the players traded.
So Like I said, Griff, I want to have a conversation about this, not an argument, because you like to yell at me about this stuff. But I just want to throw that out there. But anyway, so this is about the salary cap. Okay, so I was telling Griff, we were going back and forth. Part of me was trolling, part of me was being for real. I just like to piss Griff off. But so I mentioned this before, and since 2000 to 2020, only 4 teams with a high payroll have won 100-plus games and won a World Series. Only 2 of those have been top spender in the league. So I found some new data that I think...
rebuttal that one?
What's that?
Can I rebuttal that one? So 2 out of 4 of the 100-win teams were number 1 in payroll?
They were... Let's see here.
2 out of 4. So if you look at the statistical probability of that, saying that payroll doesn't affect anything and that every team has a 1 in 32 chance of being number 1, 2 out of 4 would be very statistically hard. Like, that's a lot.
Right. That's why I'm saying that payroll doesn't matter.
Well, I think if you spend that money, you have a 50% chance of being one of those teams.
No, like 2 out of 4 is a lot of first top spenders to be in that spot.
Yeah, but then you have to look at the whole data of 20 years of
There's only
data.
4. The data's only 4 plot points.
No, the data starts with 20 years, and then it goes down to 4 teams, so I think we throw one out because the Astros...
You're only talking about 4
So now...
points. You're only talking about 4 data points.
I think what Zach's trying to say, though,
inaccurate.
is Zach's trying to say that out of those 20 years, there was only 4 teams that were
20 years
that were at 100 wins.
So now you have to look at 20 seasons of
So 20
winners.
times 32 teams, that's 640 teams.
Okay.
Out of that, out of 4 chances, 2 of those were number 1.
Yeah, that's not very good statistically good
That's
chances.
very good.
Not really. If you look at 640 teams and only 2 were number 1 spenders, that's a very bad average.
I don't think you're understanding.
Anyways, we're going to continue because this is the data and it's black and white, and there it is. So we're going to go on. So this is the new information that I want Griff to hear. So I typed it all out just so I didn't get it wrong. But so after hearing that in 20 seasons, only 2 teams have been top 5 in spending for baseball, generating the big wins and winning World Series. There's still question that salary cap prevents a large market team from just buying talent. I kindly laugh in everyone's face who still believes that a salary cap will fix baseball and the large market versus the little market debate, and here's why. So we're going to start with the LA Dodgers. Since their recent win in 2020 of the World Series, their last banner came in 1988, 32 years between titles. Everyone cries that the Dodgers will just buy players from a smaller market, thus creating a poor me argument. Well,
they kind of did this off this break. I just want to say,
okay,
they kind of did.
Well, looking into the payroll, the Dodgers spent $3.69 billion over 32 years, and what was the result? You know, like a get them next year approach. Like, we literally spent $3 billion over 32 years for, you know, not achieving the common goal in baseball. So people had the question, including myself, as to why anybody in business would spend such a large amount of money to equal nothing but a number of wins in a stats category, slap on the back, followed by maybe next year. Well, thanks to the Oakland A's and the Moneyball story, I was able to find some data backing up that payroll is a small amount in success that a team has. So this is data collected from 2000 to the start of the 2014 season, which is not it's not relevant to today's baseball because that is a big gap, but it's still
one thing I will say though is like modern baseball, like the Moneyball baseball, like dominated for like 10 years. And now it's just not a thing. No one really does Moneyball anymore. They go for guys that have launch angles and home runs because the Moneyball thing was just get on base.
But let's continue. So
for low money,
2000 to 2014, this data was that the Dodgers have underperformed in wins by about $64 million in correlation to their payroll. So the Dodgers have a win success, but in their 32-year World Series drought, they wasted $3.69 billion. They also overplayed their payers $64 million in 13 seasons based on their worth and how their worth would correlate into wins. So that was ranking them number 19 on the list of MLB performance relative to their payroll. So essentially, the Dodgers overpaid by $64 million based on the players that they had for 13 seasons. So based off the same list, go to number 6 and number 12 to hit the Red Sox and the Yankees, who earlier was the 2 number 1 teams who won the World Series with the 100-plus wins. Their performance is relative to payroll because they were both in the positive.
Were they top spenders? Is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, like
I was saying, I know the Cubs won 100 games and won a World Series. I don't think they were the top spender. They were like top 3.
They were, I think, number 6 in 2016. Yeah. So their performance was relative to payroll. That was in the positive, that they underpaid for the values of their players, but we still had to pass up many small market teams in quotations, and why that is. So no doubt you could buy the best 9 players in baseball with no salary cap, tell them to play, and have a better chance at winning a World Series, but who would really do that as an owner or GM? So going down my list, teams, in my opinion, of bad leadership have largely overspent in correlation to their talent, thus bringing me to the 29th ranked Cubs. So this is where you come into play, Griff. So I put in here, 2021 trade deadline was a heartbreaker for Griff, and I'll let him vent, and I'll let you vent. But
you were talking shit, though, so.
I was.
You didn't really let me vent.
I wasn't talking shit just now. Earlier I was.
I was talking about in the group message.
So where was that? But, Griff, you've been quoted by saying things like the salary cap would fix the MLB issue. Look at the NFL. They did it. LOL. The Cubs are a large market team. We had the money but didn't want to spend it. Cheap-ass owner just wanted a full-scale rebuild. Cubs would have kept all 3 of those players and still had a lower payroll than 3 years ago in the NLCS. So, very strong argument backed by facts and stats presented on my side as to why the salary cap will never fix baseball, Griffin. So please tell me why the Cubs have overspent $709 million in 13 years based on their performance relative to payroll. So that's the time, from 2000 to 2013. Yeah. So the data represents that a good owner, good coach, and a good GM is a driving factor behind a winning a World Series, and a payroll is a minute factor in this argument. So the statistical answer is yes.
One thing I want to point out real quick, in that 13-year span, you got to throw out the first 4 because Dusty Baker was their manager.
Oh, see, you can't throw that. So,
just getting going.
So that pretty much concludes it. So I just want to say that these 2 large market teams, they spend a lot of money. Yes, they do. But like I just said, the Dodgers went 32 years between World Series. The Cubs went 106 years, I think, like when this data was collected. 106 years. The Cubs overspent on their players by, what did I say, $709 million. So, how would a salary cap fix this? Like you just said that a cheap-ass owner was the reason that they traded 3 of their best players.
I told you the other day, too. I don't think the salary cap would not help the Cubs regardless. That's the whole point of the salary cap is the lower teams can technically spend the same amount as the richer teams, right? Okay. So definitely want to help the Cubs in this situation. That's the whole point of it is they don't keep all their really good homegrown players. They got to pick and choose the ones they want to keep. Mm-hmm. The one thing I want to point out, too, is you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if me and Jake's argument ever was that you spend the most money, you win the World Series. It was that more money you spent, typically you win more games, which I think is pretty true. You can look at the correlation for that. Most of the teams that spend more money win a lot more games. And that was our complete argument, because in order to win a World Series, you got to win games and make the playoffs firsthand, or else you have no shot.
Right, and I agree with that, but why would you want to be the biggest spender in baseball and not win World Series? Why would you want to have the most wins but not the most World Series?
I don't think their intention...
That doesn't really make sense.
I don't think their intention was to spend a lot of money and not win the World Series. I think their intention...
Well, the Dodgers did it. They spent $3 billion.
But they also won a World Series.
They also did win a World Series.
Okay, but 32 years apart. That's a very
what
bad...
What about the Yankees? You're throwing out the Yankees. That's a big stat
point. Well, the Yankees weren't in here.
How good the Yankees were.
The Yankees didn't fit to your argument or my argument.
So I guarantee...
The Yankees, they spent a lot of money and won a lot of World Series.
You can look at those Yankees teams with Jeter, A-Rod, Mo, from 2000 to 2008 range. They were probably the top spender in baseball almost every year, if not for most of them, and won the World Series 4 times.
So
the only thing was that they didn't win 100 games and win the World Series.
The 2009 New York Yankees were the only top spenders to win 100-plus games.
And win the World Series, right?
And win the World Series.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
So that's only one team out of 20 seasons.
So what about the year they won the World Series, spent number 1 and won 98 games?
Well, then that doesn't fit to your all's argument about being the top spender.
No.
No, because you guys are saying that the more money you spend...
You're changing it again. Our argument was the more money you spend, typically you're going to win games. It wasn't that you spend $4 million, you're guaranteed to win 100 games, because it wasn't that. Obviously, that's be an insane amount of consistency if that was true, but it's more so that you spend a lot of money, you win a lot of games, you make the playoffs. That's
not
what
true.
The correlation says. Yes, it does.
Only 4 teams have spent more money and won more games.
100 games.
Well, that's a pretty large amount of games, if you ask me. That is
an insanely large amount of games. But
and if you look at this graph, it's not the same that you send me, but that's pretty average, if you ask me. That everybody's pretty much right there on the standard deviation, minus whoever that is up there.
I would have seen the correlation, though. The more money goes up,
the more wins go up.
That
was our thing.
Yeah, but then you only got 4 teams that have won a World Series.
You're using 100 games like it's some certain the be-all, end-all benchmark.
Because
if they win
that's
95
a lot of games.
If they win 95 games and win the division, they did their job. They got to the playoffs, and they spent a lot of money. And now
but you don't understand what I'm saying is that you could have won 95 games, but that doesn't mean that you were a top spinner in baseball. That's like Tampa Bay. They could win it. They can win 95 games right now, and they're like number 20.
Says it's that if you look at all those 95 plus game winners, all the division winners will say
look
right.
At every plot point, every one of them.
I guarantee most of them are going to be people that spent a lot of money.
But then you guys are throwing out the teams like Tampa Bay because I would be like, oh, well, what about Tampa Bay? And they're like, oh, well, they don't correlate to my graph. So how come it's fair for you guys to win the argument?
Because most of the plot point correlates to the.
Yeah,
it's called outliers.
And I looked at, and
I don't want to say the word, Zach, so I'll say outliers. But that's what it is. If you got most of them going to one side, right, filling this part of the graph here, and you got a couple down here, those are the outliers. The correlation says you spend more money, you win more games. There's always going to be outliers in everything.
And then there's the Dodgers who spend a crap load of money and didn't win in those certain years.
But you look at all those years and how many times they make the NLCS and make the playoffs and win the division. They were still really, really, really good teams. And that's where I can see your argument coming more that coaching is really important because they couldn't win the big game. I still think that if you have a cap, you have less money to play with and less talented players, it's more on your coach and front office than it is when you can just throw a bunch of money at it. Because for all we know, Dave Roberts and their coaching staff could be fucking shitty. It could be terrible. But they have $300 million to play with, so they have all these all-stars in their team, so it hides them. Like I fully believe you put David Bell on that team. Whether you think of them, they're going to make the playoffs easy, and they're going to be a really good team.
I'll throw in that MLB playoffs is kind of a fucking shit show, and that's proven by when's the last time there's a repeat champion? 22 years, 24 years.
Didn't Kansas City?
The Yankees? No, because Kansas City won for the Cubs.
Like 2002.
Yeah, they made back-to-back. Yeah. So let's see. San Francisco was even years. Yankees three-peated. I know the Yankees three-peated in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, it's been like 20 years. Dude.
And they lost their 4-peat because of the Diamondbacks, and I'm pretty sure they went back to the World Series the next year.
So I will say, and I've said this before, I understand your graph of the correlation. The more money you spend, the more wins you're going to have, equaling a greater chance to win a World Series. But what I'm saying is that is kind of a BS argument by saying that and then not accepting that there's only been 4 teams to do that.
I'm just not going to condone to you pigeonholing me to 4 points.
Only 2 have 4. That's literally 20 teams.
4. That's many?
Literally
you just said 4.
4. That's 20 teams, and only 4 of them have done that. So what about the other 16?
What about the other teams that you're talking about?
You are leaving out the other 16 teams.
No, you're leaving them out.
No, I'm not.
You're not.
No, I included them in the 20,
then but talking about the 4.
But I took out the 16 because they were not relevant.
Are those 20 teams just the 20 teams that spent the most money in baseball consecutive years? Like all those years?
I'm talking about the 20 teams that have won a World Series in 20 seasons. I took out the 16 of them that were not top spenders because it didn't correlate to your graph. That's why they got thrown out. These 4 teams are the only ones that correlate to this graph. You spend the most
money, you win the World Series. That wasn't our argument. Our argument was you spend a lot of money, you're probably going to make the playoffs and win more games.
And then that's my argument is why do you want to just spend money to win games? You want to look like the Dodgers?
You go to the playoffs.
You want to look like the Dodgers
your goal is literally to go to the playoffs so you can try and win a World Series.
But they literally went 32 years between games.
So do you think you have a better chance of winning the World Series if you spend less money than you do more money? What do you think on that?
There's 16 teams that made it out of 4.
No,
so yeah,
that's not.
So statistically,
no. I said
so statistically, that's correct.
What I'm saying. What are all those teams in those plot points?
These up here, or these down here?
No, the 20 teams. What are they?
Those were the 20 teams that won a World Series, and I have been proven that they were also top spenders in baseball, but they didn't correlate to your graph.
That helps us.
Whoa. They were top spenders.
They're all top
but not
spenders.
According to your graph. So your graph says that the more money you spend, the more wins you're going to have, which is giving you a greater chance to win a World Series. So I took out of those 20 teams who they were top spenders, but they did not win the most games out of the 20 seasons, and they did not win a World Series because those teams were not the teams who won more games, who spent more money, and who won a World Series. That's what I'm trying to say. Is that your graph does not correlate to the other 16 teams who spent more money because they didn't win more games.
Wait, so
that's what I'm trying to say is that there was only 2 teams.
I just want to make sure I heard you right. So those other 16 teams all won the World Series.
Correct. Well, I just looked at
World Series winners.
20. Those 20 teams are all World Series winners.
Well, yeah, because there's 20. There was a World Series
20
winner.
straight seasons. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't look at.
Did you say they were all top spenders?
No, they were. So remember that graph that always got thrown out into the group message of like, well, what about this team who spent? They were number 3 in payroll, or this graph. I don't remember the exact numbers. That's what I'm relating to. But out of those people who were top spenders, they did not win games in baseball to get there. That's what I'm trying to say.
Did they make the playoffs or not?
They could have won, let's just say, 85 games, but still won a World Series.
But they were top spenders, you said.
They could have been, but probably not top 5, top 10. I don't know. I didn't look at it because it didn't correlate to this graph and then those data points.
Okay, so again, real quick, I can definitely be swayed on is salary cap actually good for baseball? I believe it is right now, but I can definitely be swayed on that one, right? Because there's that can be a toss up. I can understand that, right? But just our whole argument, you're trying to say we're wrong and we're not. It's just you spend more money, more likely you're going to win more games.
I'm not saying that you're wrong because I agree with that, but I'm just saying it doesn't correlate to a salary cap because obviously out of 20 World Series champions, only 2 of them have been a top spender, won the most games, and won a World Series. That's what I'm trying to say.
The idea, though, too, so if saying that salary cap was implemented, right?
Okay.
It would take time. You wouldn't be able to just do it overnight because everyone's would be capped to a certain amount. There'd be people spending way over it, right? So they'd have to cut players' contracts in half, which they didn't agree to, which would cause a shindig, right? So it had to be like over a 7-year span where they had to slowly come down people's deals and pay people less money. People would make less money a year, right? You see a guy like Trout getting $50 million, he wouldn't get $50 million a year. He would get maybe $35 million a year. He's still a fucking beast, right? The idea then is that I have to pay people less money, but I have less money to spend overhead. I had these 4 guys that I could re-sign. Now I can only pick 2 of them. So then those 2 guys go where? They go to other teams who have the same amount of money to spend as them. So then you get teams like the Rays who have been doing very well because their management team is very good and their coaching is very good and scouting. Their scouting is insane, right? Then you get those players they're already doing that with, and you start getting guys sent to them like that couldn't get re-signed. Then they're a better team automatically. That's my whole point. It spreads the players out because you physically cannot pay for all them like some of the teams like Dodgers and them can, right? So they're spread out so you have less teams that are just complete stupid shitty, right? There's always going to be shitty teams. You can look at any single sport with a salary cap, right? Browns come to mind for 20 fucking years because they had a terrible leadership group that couldn't figure it out even when they were on level playing ground with every single other thing. Literally the only thing that's going to make or break you is the players you scout and the coaches you hire because no team has an advantage for more money to spend. That's the whole point of the salary cap that I was pointing out. Definitely sounds a little communisty if you think about it. Everybody gets the same thing. But regardless, this is America and that's football and baseball. So, but to your argument saying that, you shouldn't spend all this money because people are wasting all this money and not winning the World Series. Is that like the sense of your argument eventually?
Yeah, so we'll go back
Why would you spend that much money if you can look at all this data I've shown that these teams are wasting all this money to only get like 1 World Series in like 30 years?
Right.
Like that?
So, for example, the 2 teams that I pulled, and I didn't cherry pick them. I only picked the Cubs just so we could relate to that. And then the Dodgers obviously are the Dodgers. But the Dodgers and the Cubs both largely overpaid for their talent.
Yeah.
And they don't have very many World Series to show. But like I said, the Yankees, they were smart with their scouting department, and they underpaid for their talent, thus winning them a World Series, multiple World Series.
But they were still probably the number 1 spender in baseball.
So that's what I'm saying is that if you want to look at who's writing these contracts, it goes down to my argument that a good owner and a good GM is going to understand that we got Rizzo, we know his value, but let's, maybe shade a couple million off because he plays for the Yankees, and, the Yankees will be able to afford X amount of people. Also looking at this data is, in my opinion, the reason why the Dodgers went so long without winning a World Series is because their top spenders, like if you look at position-wise, was always pitchers. And as we know, a pitcher could win you a game, but they're not very good batters statistically. So I think that as a coach or GM, like, yeah, you got the best pitchers in the league, but like every 9th batter, you're not getting production out of them as a batter. So I think that could have been the Dodgers' problem over 32 years. I don't know. But all I'm saying is that coaching and GMs play a very large role versus the amount of money that's spent on the players. Because, we can look at it here. I got it pulled up.
I can agree with that, but I think the money definitely helps out teams a lot when they can spend a shitload of money. And I think that if you want it to be more, if you're all for a good coaching staff and GM, it's more applicable when there's a salary cap and they have a discerned amount that every single other person. It's like basically starting a race, right? It's starting a race all at the same spot, right? without a salary cap how baseball currently is, you're starting a race way back here because you're only allotted, like you're literally your figurative cap that your owner gives you, say, hey, we don't have much money to spend, so here's where we're at, is going to start you $100 million less than the Dodgers. So it's like starting a race. You guys are the same speed, and they're starting way up here, right? Sometimes you're a sprinter and you can catch up. It's very, very much an outlier, I think, and you can look at the data about the teams like the Rays that made the World Series. Fucking awesome. I'm for it because I'm here for the poor man, except for the Cubs. I want them to spend a lot of money. But most of the time, the guy up here is going to win. They're going to get up. There's going to be someone in the start of the pack that's going to win. They might not be the number one spender in baseball that wins the World Series every year, but you can look over like the past 30 years and that one thing I showed you, there was like 70% of them or something like that were in the top 10 in spending would end up going or winning the World Series, which is, I think, pretty safe data to say if I spend about this much money every year, I'll be in the top 10 spending. I have a good chance of making the playoffs, and I have a really good chance of making the playoffs and an even decent chance to try and go all the way and win the World Series. Yeah. I think that correlates better that way. But our argument from the start has been you spend more money, more than likely you're going to win more games. I think that's pretty clear. So
it is clear, but again, there's only been 2 teams in 20 seasons that have done that. So I don't really think that's
out
a very
out
of 20. What don't you understand about that? Out of 20.
This is only 4 plot points you're talking about.
No, there's not. There's 20 of them.
No, there's 20 teams over those years, but you only picked the 4 teams to win 100 games. So is that what you picked?
Your 4 plot points.
No, I picked. No. You guys don't.
Did all 20 of those teams win 100 games?
No, because only 4 of them have won the World Series and been the bigger spenders.
And while winning 100 games,
but the other ones have been big spenders. So that doesn't correlate to your graph that they spent more money.
I don't get it.
And they didn't win more games. That is what I'm trying to say.
Anyways, I agree with you that there is a big emphasis on getting value for your money. If you're a management and you're like, that's pretty much your job as management, is you find players that are value for money. Like the Cubs went out, they didn't see much value for money in paying a guy for 6 more months or 3 more months. They saw more value for money is getting a bunch of cheap prospects that could pan out to be superstars in the future. It's very, very, very important to get value for money. And if you overpay for players, it fucks your team big time. Mm-hmm. I get what you're saying there. And I think we can agree that it's important. If you're going to pay someone, they better perform. And you better know that they perform. And hopefully the good teams get high performers for cheap value.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we agree. That's, I think, your argument
for the Oakland A's.
The salary cap. You're saying good management will get good value.
Right.
So they don't need
scouts or whatever you need.
They don't need to pay that much.
Right.
I agree with you, but I disagree with you about a lot of it.
Yeah.
And I'm cool with leaving it there.
Cool. I'll send you the article.
All right. So I'm going to put
By the way, there's 20 data points, not 4. Go ahead.
I'm going to put a disclaimer in the pod description today and say from this time to this time we talk salary cap. So if you want to get back to more trades, we're going to do it now. Go to this time. So some other big trades you got to go to, right? Something that just I got to get it in, Zach. Sorry, it helps our debate for the rich teams get good players, right? Trey Turner and Max Scherzer in a double trade from the Nationals, right? A very, very low paying team to the biggest team in baseball. I'm sorry.
Nationals that absolutely sold their entire team.
They did have a sell-off. Them and the Cubs, it was a battle for the biggest sell-off. So
yeah, they pretty much sold everything and fucked Juan Soto. They're like, we're just going to hang on and sell Juan Soto jerseys for the next 7 years.
Yeah, they also said too, every player is available except for Juan Soto. So what that means is that they want to make as much money as they can off Juan Soto for the next 3 years until he's eligible for a contract, and then they're going to trade him for more
Bryce
prospects.
Yeah, so if you're Juan Soto, you're not very happy right now.
No.
So what are you going to say if the Dodgers don't win a World Series this year?
They're going to make the playoffs, so it proves my argument. So
yeah, they're definitely going to make the playoffs.
You guys are so weird.
They're also the best team in the league right now.
Question. All right, each of you can answer this. Why is winning and making the playoffs more valuable than winning a World Series?
Because you can't win the World Series if you're not in the playoffs.
No. Answer my question.
Point proven.
Answer my question. No, why is winning, making to the playoffs more valuable than a World Series? You literally just roasted me for
well, it's because
I like teams who win playoffs games more than World Series.
It's because you can't win the World Series without making the playoffs.
I don't know.
If you never make the playoffs, how many World Series wins will you have?
None. I agree with that, but
so that's what we're saying.
But you guys literally are rooting for teams to win a world or a playoff game rather than a World Series.
I'm not rooting for.
I would rather root for a team to win a World Series than a playoff win. In my opinion,
I am not rooting for the Dodgers or Yankees or anyone. I want a salary cap, but my whole thing is that if you're going to spend a lot of money, you're going to make the playoffs, then you have a chance of winning the World Series, right? And if you, that's what the data says, right? You look at all these teams, they're going to make the playoffs. They're spending a lot of money, and then they have a good chance of they're in a one in a chance. And you know what helps point,
when you can afford someone like Trey Turner, a 300 career batting average. Trey Turner was elite speed,
fast as fuck. Yeah,
elite.
So
speed.
I remember back.
You know who else has been pretty good? Max Scherzer on the bump for like I don't know how many years, 14 years. How long has this dude been on the freaking mound being a complete psychopath?
Has he been with Washington the whole time?
No, he started with Detroit. It was him and Verlander.
Freaking psychopath out there.
Yeah, so Dodgers got richer. They still have a really good team. That's going to be an interesting division, though. Just they have 3 teams that could probably all make the playoffs and probably will all make the playoffs. So it's pretty crazy.
Unless the Reds beat them out.
Unless the Reds beat them out.
Reds chasing Padres down by their back.
I wish the Reds would win. Just to laugh at you guys.
One that was a couple days.
They're technically above half. Like they're
top half, yeah.
Top
couple days before the trade deadline, but I don't know if I already said it. Nelson Cruz to the Rays. Rays out spending money, right? So the Rays went and spent and got Nelson Cruz. They basically traded for him, so they didn't buy him, but they're going to be paying most of his contract.
Nelson Cruz, I'm not sure how the deal works, but I mean, pretty good player for his age. 41 years old.
And hits bombs. Another all-star.
1 years old. You want to take that and throw it out the fucking window? How about Nelson Cruz slugging .881 at 41 years old?
Yeah, that's insane.
Let's freaking get it, dude. I'm all for Nelson Cruz showing up. Look up, get on YouTube right now and look up farthest home runs of the decade.
Yeah.
See whose name you see on that list.
He's probably 7 of the 25 on there. Nelson Cruz.
The Reds are below league average.
The Reds are below league average according to Zach. But last time I thought they were like 15 or 16 or something. I don't remember. Anyway, Yankees got 2 left-handed sluggers for the short porch, Joey Gallo and Anthony Rizzo, which I think is very interesting because not that they weren't the best hitting team out there because they don't have a good average either, but I feel like they needed relief pitching really bad, like the most. So that's why I thought it was interesting they traded away 2 relievers to the Reds, and they went out and got 2 sluggers. Not mad about it because I'm mad about one of them, obviously, but not mad in general that their mindset was we're the Bronx Bombers, hit some more homers over the short porch, get lefties, right?
Rizzo already hit 2.
Rizzo, his homered in his first 2 games. He was also on base 7 of his first 8 at bats. And the Cubs didn't want to pay him.
How long is Griff going to follow these players? Probably for the next until they retire.
Guys, I've been already thinking about going on to one of those websites and buying like a $20 like Chris Bryant jersey. So
speaking of someone who's come out and performed this year that the Cubs also let walk, Kyle Schwarber to the Red Sox.
Schwarber to the Red Sox.
I think this is an awesome pickup for the Red Sox because you want to talk about value for money. I think the Red Sox are out there. I don't even know how they're winning, but they're awesome.
Yeah.
They're super good, and they pick up Schwarber, who is having an insane year.
I think they're
on top of already
place.
being a pretty good player. Yeah,
he was a player of the month too.
Yeah, the Yankees are trying to chase him down, but I mean they're pretty good out in front. So we'll see how that wraps up.
They tried to get Rizzo, and the Yankees stole Rizzo, so they went like, oh fuck, let's get the other old Cubs left-handed slugger.
Yeah, well, Schwarber's probably had a better year this year.
Oh no, he has. He has like 25 homers.
Not career-wise this year.
Yeah, he's playing awesome. Also, I want to talk about Eduardo Escobar to the Brew Crew, another All-Star. The Brewers get another All-Star hitter. They got Willie Adames, who was an All-Star last year, I believe. So he wasn't one this year.
So you think he's a big name? That's what I have written down here. I don't technically consider him as a big name.
No, but he's having a really good year in a playoff push, right? Okay. So you think about it, they trade for a player. He probably doesn't honestly cost a lot, Zach, because I think he's pretty new. Diamondbacks. So Diamondbacks, they're shitty, right? They want to sell off. So they said, we got this guy who's not in our long-term plans. We're not going to be good for at least 5 or 6 years, right? And they have this guy who's playing the best baseball of his life. Why not trade him?
While he's hot.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what the Brewers did, right? So it's not like he's a... it's not like you got Trevor Story out there who's not having as good of a year as Eduardo Escobar, but is definitely a bigger name. And you hear Trevor Story, you're like, oh, that guy's a really good player, right? Yeah. So you think about here Eduardo Escobar, you don't think of that. But just based off how he's playing this year, right? If they get him on a 1 year or 2 year thing to keep, why not go for it when your team's playing this well, right? The Brewers are playing really, really good. They need hitting. They don't need pitching. Might as well get a guy who's raking at third base this year. So I get it. I think it's a good move by the Brewers.
I agree with you.
Not that I like the Brewers, but
there's just huge names in here, and Eduardo Escobar, and I was like,
these are all All-Stars that move, except for Joey Gallo.
He's had a great year.
Joey Gallo's on this list that wasn't an All-Star.
But the name sting just isn't there for Eduardo Escobar yet. Maybe it will be one day.
But then the last thing I want to talk about was the Rockies. You got something to say real quick, Zach?
I was just going to say, who was the guy who won the home run derby?
That was Pete Alonso.
Yeah. I just saw a thing before we started the podcast that after he won, he went to a bar in Colorado.
I saw that.
And he got kicked out.
Yeah.
He's also a weird guy.
He's very weird.
Dude, the entire time that home run derby was going on, he was fucking head bopping and dancing
There's
around.
that kid. It's a kid literally dies in outfield. He's getting helped off. It's a Pete Alonso bopping and rocking.
But I want to say a disclaimer. I want to know if the bar just closed down or if he actually got kicked out.
I know. I saw that thing. They kicked him out. Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I saw that video. Huh. But I want to talk about the Rockies, though, since we're in the Colorado fever there. So they completely fucked the trade deadline, dude. Like, their players will not re-sign with them. Like, they already tried to re-sign Trevor Story. And this is, like, another thing, too, where, you can offend your star player by offering him too little, right? Yeah. He got offered too little. Not that he's, like, again, lived up to what he should have gotten paid this year because he hasn't played super well. But you look at the correlation, right? Last 3 years has been insane. It's a lot of dingers. But they offered him something supposedly so ridiculous, he just, like, laughed at it, right? So that was one thing he was mad. And then he said, basically, they have no intentions of signing me. I want to stay here, and I love the fans. I love the city. But I'm not going to just take a $50 million pay cut to play in a place I love when I can make more money.
That's like Tulowitzki. Is that how you say his last name? Like, he was awesome for the Rockies, and then they traded him away, and you never heard of that guy before. Where'd he go? Like the Blue Jays or something?
Yeah, but that also could be the course field effect. Anyway,
right.
But apparently he's going to leave, and same with Marquez. Like, they're not going to pay those two guys. They don't have a lot of money to spend, so they're not that good because they already got rid of Arenado. They refused to pay. Honestly, I'll say it as a Chris Bryant guy, probably like the best third baseman in baseball in the last like 6 seasons, I'd say, right? I think that's pretty safe to say. Just defense and also like how well he hits the ball.
You better put Suarez in there.
They got Suarez a lot of home runs. So, but they literally just let him go. So the Rockies just are not going to sign their players, and they decided not to trade him for some reason. Apparently, they were asking for ridiculous amounts from teams. Like, look at all these guys' numbers this year or this past. I know he's really good, but he's not worth that. Mm-hmm. And they were basically banking on the Rockies being like, well, we don't have an option. We have to fucking trade these guys, right? But they didn't. They just didn't. So now they're not going to re-sign with them. They're going to get
prospects.
They're going to get they get compensatory picks is the way it goes. I can't remember the rules on it. So like, I know because Chris Bryant was the number 2 overall pick. If they didn't trade him and didn't re-sign him, the Cubs would have gotten a first round pick next year from like a certain spot. It wouldn't have been that high, but they would have gotten a first round pick. So I don't know the details on how their picks will be. It's weird in baseball. I know Trevor Story was number 1 overall pick though, or number 2 overall pick. Sorry. So he will probably get a good pick for him, I guess, is the good side. I don't know, dude. They should have traded him and gotten like 3 prospects for each of them. So
seems like that should have been the move.
Yeah, Rockies.
Unless, the only thing that would make sense is that they're going to try to re-sign him, which doesn't sound like it's going to happen.
Would you consider Denver a big or small market team? Because that's a very large city.
It is, but they're a very new team. They were created in like 2001. So I feel like they don't have near as much money as some other teams would have. You know what I mean? Think about the Yankees. Well, they've won like how long they've been around, how well they've done it for so long. So remember, you think about all the rich teams in baseball. Most of them are really successful teams way early on in the days, like baseball, like 1900, right? Even the Cubs like won 3 World Series and like span from 1900 to 1908 or something crazy, right? And then
beat Detroit, I believe.
Yeah, they did. But the Cubs are also like the lovable losers for so long. People started liking them like randomly in random parts of the country. I'm gonna like that team. They're the shitty team. So. Right. Anyway, lots of big names.
The Yankees also have a big following because of like immigrants from Ellis Island.
Yeah,
like they came in and they were like, "Oh, American baseball!"
Yankees,
like, "Oh, I like the Yankees." Yeah, right.
Yeah, I feel you. So, we got any other names? I'm going to hit all the big ones.
Well, also back in the day, like you pretty much had to like the team that was around you.
Right.
Because you had to get you had to either, that's the team you went and saw. Or
extra, forget all about it.
That you got that had the scores in it.
This just in, the Bronx Bombers win 7-3. The Babe hits 4.
Should we get you not like now where you can just go on MLB.com and watch any game you want.
Should we get you a 1940s microphone? Broadcasting microphone?
This just in. Lou Gehrig gets a disease. More at 5.
Jesus. All righty. Well, are we moving on now?
NFL talk.
NFL.
Right. So I should have put a disclaimer because I knew that this podcast was going to be really fucking long. But NFL starts this Thursday, boys.
Oh, yeah, it's pumped.
I know it's the Hall of Fame game, but Griff, you want to I have some notes on 2 teams, but you want to throw out the Cowboys there first?
So first off, boys, you don't even got to think about it. You just got to bet it. The first football, don't think about it, just bet it, pick of the year, right? And this is literally, when I say no-brainer, and I'm telling you, I did not think about this one time. You can ask Zach. I was like, I don't even know what the line is. And guess who I'm picking?
The
Cowboys money line, right?
Oh, we couldn't pick that one.
Don't even think about it. Just bet it. The Cowboys money line. They are plus 1.5, but it's preseason, so that means anything can happen. Underdogs literally do not matter. The Browns 0-16. Guess what their preseason record was that year?
You gotta have
4-0.
A set of balls on you to go throw money down on a preseason.
So
it's the Hall of Fame game.
It's the Hall of Fame game.
Ball out, dude.
Oh,
they're literally gonna have all the starters are gonna play 1-2 series max.
Dak's not playing. Claypool's not playing.
If you actually did have money on it,
oh yeah,
it's just like because they do like like stupid stuff during like later in the game too. You'd be like,
well, yeah, because they're just trying to get reps.
Could you imagine if online betting was legal in Kentucky? Like, since you guys live together, Griff would be like, dude, just put $5 on the money line.
This is a game.
I would bet on it. Yeah.
This is a game that you could get an easy return because you don't know who's going to fucking win. So you might as well pick the underdog. That's why the line's only 1.5. It's a preseason game. But basically, you put a little bit of money, put a 25er on there, put maybe 1,000 on. You know, who knows? Maybe it's
I will say that I am prone to making assumptions after preseason games.
That's true.
The Bengals will come with a W like first preseason game, and I'm like, it's on.
They're gonna win.
It's on. This is the year, baby.
Oh my gosh!
All right, so
it's like Ryan Finley out there.
I was gonna say, are you done with your don't think about it bet?
Yeah.
All right,
Cowboys money line.
Just don't think about it. Just bet it.
Just fucking bet it. This is literally my least thought about bet of the year.
I would actually agree that he probably didn't think about this one.
Well, he didn't because we were looking at it and he was like, "Dude, the money line's not even up for the game." So I know he's not thinking about it.
Well, no, I pulled it up my app. I was like, "Oh, I don't even know what the line is." Up, Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. So I had an idea. We're gonna say it live on the pod. But so how you have the "Don't think about it, just bet it" weekly pick for the NFL?
Yeah,
I'm gonna cover some dumb Zach Kellerman watch film of the week thing. I don't know. I'll find a better name for it, but we're gonna make fun of it since I'm Zach Kellerman and I watch film.
Zach's gonna be finding a thing where some receivers got like maybe a foot of space on the move. They didn't get the ball thrown to him. He was like, dude, he had space. Dude, they just didn't throw it.
He was wide open.
That won't show up on the stat sheet.
No, just fucking throw it to him. But I don't know. That'd be funny. So Cowboys, Griff, we got some talking points for you. I want you to
hard knocks, baby.
We're gonna cover them. So how do you think Dak will come back after his injury, man? I'm gonna say I have my doubts.
I think he's going to play awesome.
I have my doubts. And you know why I have my doubts? I don't think that as a player, dude, I don't think his value was there. I think Jerry Jones just wanted to flash his pocketbook.
We'll see.
But
that's the cost of the race going for a starting quarterback these days.
I would be very easily influenced by that. I just don't think he's there.
The one thing I want to say real quick with money in the NFL, it just goes up every year. If Dak Prescott plays 5 years sooner, has the same exact numbers, he gets a deal worth $15 million less than what he's getting paid now.
Oh, no doubt. I mean,
it's the same exact numbers.
Inflation's a bitch.
Yeah, it is. So I'm going to say those are a little bit inflated because you're going to see a guy worse than him is going to get more money than him next year.
No doubt.
No doubt. But what I want to say is I think he's going to be awesome. I think he is an awesome quarterback. I think he's top 7 for sure. And then what I want to say is that he got fucked over by that injury. It sucked. It looked really bad. But I look at other guys like Paul George, right, who had an even worse broken leg in the NBA and came back and was still dominant, still really good, right? Playoff P, as he calls himself. But I think he's going to be fine. Definitely think it's worse to break your leg in football than it is to basketball. I will agree with that. But experts say very clean break, easy fix. And what do they say about broken bones, boys? When it breaks,
it heals.
It grows back stronger, right?
I didn't know that.
I think he's insane. I think he's also got a really, really good offense. So I think that's really going to help him out a lot. Having like tons of weapons going to help him out a lot.
Okay.
And I can't wait for football. I can't wait for Dak Prescott to drop a big 50 burger this year and win MVP. So
I got you.
He's my sleeper pick. I'm putting 50 on him for MVP.
If I had the bet this year, I would say Dak would have a really good year as well.
Yeah,
not MVP.
Like I said,
not MVP.
No,
we'll see.
We're not putting him on like Russell Wilson level. Okay.
I would say that would be funny if you got to vote for Russell Wilson. I would like to see what Zach said because Zach would have to come back on his Dak take. His Dak's a little overrated, right?
Well, hey, I said, but could easily change my mind.
You're right. But I'm saying
I don't even think Dak's overrated. He just probably a little overpaid.
He's definitely overpaid.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you ask like the average NFL fans consensus, like
I agree with that.
They wouldn't overrate
100%.
him, like they would Russell Wilson.
I mean, most of the quarterbacks,
the little jab there.
Most of the quarterbacks nowadays are overpaid in general. Like look at like Matt Ryan's contract.
You're right.
Money. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's a going price. But I can't wait. Football's back.
All right, here we go, Griff. Another talking point. So a lot of offseason moves on the defense, man. 2 big contracts, 2 4-year deals by their third round draft pick. So got a defensive end and Chauncey Goldston. How you feel about him? You know anything about him?
I can't remember. No? I remember. Are you
talking
about a linebacker from Penn State?
No, defensive end. I think he was from Iowa.
No, but like I think it's weird that he's the first person you pointed out because their first overall pick was Micah Parsons, who was a linebacker at Penn State.
Well, he wasn't on their NFL transaction sheets, so did he sign his deal yet?
Yeah.
He did?
He signed it like right after he got
All right,
drafted.
well, don't put that on me. Put that on the NFL website, dog.
I don't know who Chauncey Goldston is. He was probably like a 7th round pick.
3rd round pick.
3rd round, okay. I can't remember.
So based off the NFL strengths and weakness information, I don't think there's a large chance that he makes the defense better.
Listen, Zach, this guy's probably not going to make the team, so.
They signed him to a 4-year deal.
Oh, never mind. He's good.
I mean, he's definitely on the team.
Is Chauncey a gritty name or a flamboyant
I think it's a gritty name.
Chauncey.
That's
how I
like,
think about it.
Yeah, it's kind of like
Come here, Chauncey.
Like,
I feel like
that's not gritty. I'm sorry, dude.
I don't know.
Chauncey.
I feel like Chauncey's the kid that you see at like the park, right? You're taking your dog to the park.
He does sound thick.
And Chauncey's the kid that
He's a defensive end, dude. He's pretty big.
Like a girly, thick boy. Chauncey.
Chauncey's the kid that Chauncey's the big kid that comes up and says, "Can I pet your dog?" And you want to pet your dog, and he like starts giving it to Lenny from Mice and Men, where he rubs it too hard and almost kills it.
Jesus. Oh my God. All right. Well, I'm not even going to go to the next guy because the NFL fucked me.
I don't know who these players are. I mean, they probably got drafted.
The other person
I remember
is
Micah Parsons. So
Nashawn Wright, third-round pick.
No.
Cornerback. I don't know. Those are the only two defensive guys on the NFL's website.
Okay. Yeah.
But
we're not going to worry about that. He's
right.
got Micah Parsons, who was probably the best linebacker in the draft last year.
All right. Well, then I'll just say overall, I still think the Cowboys have work to do on their defense.
Oh, yeah. No fucking doubt.
But Zeke is skinny, and I hope he eats.
Yeah. Zeke, please eat. You're worrying us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hang on to the ball.
Yeah, that's true. Hang on to the ball.
But Mike McCarthy did say the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. You ready for this, Jake? I know you don't like to pay running backs.
Never.
Mike McCarthy said, I don't see why Zeke needs to run the ball as much as he has.
Oh, no, Zeke's good.
Can you believe he would say that?
Zeke's good. You give Zeke the ball.
What are you going to just hope CD Lamb's open every fucking play?
I don't know, man.
Dude, what are you guys doing at head coach?
The balance, the run.
It's empty.
Oh, it's empty?
Yeah.
Run pass balance is, huge in the NFL.
Oh, no doubt.
Huge. I mean, you can't just say, like, even a team that's run heavy, you can't say run more. Like, there's a balance there.
So, going to some homer talk, like the Bengals, for an example. When Burrow was healthy last year, arguably, rookie of the year candidate, and then obviously Joe Mixon in the backfield. Joe Burrow, in what did he play, 11 games? Broke the rookie record with like 40.7 pass attempts per game.
Yeah, he's passing a lot.
And Joe Mixon was hurt, but shit, we still had Giovanni Bernard. Hand it off to that guy. He never
there needs to be more balance, and especially once the team gets one-dimensional. I mean, you see what happens to it.
Yeah.
But it's bad.
How you feel about that, Griff? Mike McCarthy's saying that Zeke doesn't need to run the ball as much. One of the best
I've
running
already
backs
said
in the
my
league.
thoughts on Mike McCarthy, so we'll see after this season whether or not he gets fired or not. But Jerry doesn't like to fire coaches, so I also don't see that happening. So
we'll run through the Steelers real quick.
Real quick. Is Ben Roethlisberger going to play this game? Do you know?
I don't think so. I was watching.
That's also, don't think about it, just bet it. Ben Roethlisberger over half an interception a game. One drive, one pick. That's easy money. Ben Roethlisberger. Dude throws like a million picks every year.
Mason Rudolph is getting the nod.
I got you. Oh, Mason Rudolph will definitely throw a pick. Over under Mason Rudolph, half an interception in the game. Take the over on that. Don't even think about that. Just fucking bet it.
Didn't they sign Dwayne Haskins too?
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins.
That's what I thought I saw in there.
They're fighting for the backup battle.
Just want to say, as much as I hate the Steelers, and we started off this podcast, if you're still listening, appreciate you. Their coaching is always good, dude. Like, as a Bengals fan, I fucking hate the Steelers, but you can't get past Mike Tomlin, dude. They signed him for 3 more years, so 3 more years of dealing with Zach Taylor.
That's Jared Jones' wet dream. Like, he wants to be the Steelers the way they do their coaches.
No doubt.
That's why Jason Garrett stayed for so long. He doesn't want to fight. He wants to be like the Steelers. They just have someone. They don't need to hire anyone. They have an assistant they just bring up through the ranks. That's what they want really bad, and it's not working, right?
But I want to point out that Steelers lost 2 lockdown guys on the line. Andrew Villanueva to the Ravens. That's a big loss for the Steelers line. And Marquise Pouncey. He retired, so that's 2 big dudes off the line. And then, dude, their defense is scary good, and I think that's what keeps them in the games. Steelers has always been known for a good defense, so yeah, that's that. So Bengals are definitely going to finish last in the AFC North.
Whoa.
Yeah, you think that's a hot take?
Right. Well, you yelled at me for saying they weren't going to make the playoffs last time.
No,
you weren't on.
They have a chance.
You said they were going to do a wild card team.
They definitely.
I said that because that's what Bengals fans look for.
Yeah,
it's like, I hope that they make a wild card.
Guys,
I think that was a stretch.
They definitely have a chance though because there's a salary cap.
The Bengals have the 3rd lowest odds to win a division.
Oh boy!
Behind, I think it was
a win. Yeah, no chance.
Texans.
No, yeah, it was the Texans and a team from your division. I think the Giants, maybe.
Oof.
But you know what about my home teams, and my homer? It'll only take a game, maybe 2 games, for me to change my fucking mind completely on the Bengals.
Yeah. Oh no doubt. So it's either season's over or we're fucking good.
Joe Burrow throws 8 touchdowns in the first 2 games, and I'm in here talking about my six Super Bowl rings. You know?
So, and as a Bengals fan, I'm obviously happy that we got Jamar Chase. Like, obviously happy. T. Higgins on the other side, Joe and Joe in the backfield. But my nerves are going to be calmed so much more when we walk out there for a 40-yard field goal because we finally got a new fucking kicker.
You don't know if he's good yet.
I don't care if he's good. Better than Randy Bullock, dude. Literally,
the legend of Fat Randy.
Cramped up in the wrong calf by missing a game-time field goal week 1, dude. That was so embarrassing.
Fat Randy lives.
He does. I think he plays for Detroit now. So
Randy lives.
I agree with the can't be much worse attitude, but we hope he's good because you never know.
They said he was nailing 60-yarders in practice, but I mean that's practice.
Don't mean
yeah.
shit.
That's just like saying
kickers or head cases.
Whoever threw 6 picks, like you could have been working on something. Like you don't know that.
Yeah, that's like talking about how good someone's arm are when they threw like deep balls for picks. You know?
like I'm sure Griff saw this on Twitter, like the world blowing up when Trevor Lawrence threw a touchdown to Tim Tebow in practice.
Yeah, he also threw 3 picks that training at
Did
practice.
So exactly, like nobody's gonna talk about that. They're just gonna be like Trevor to Tebow all day.
That is pretty fun.
That is fun though. I hope he makes the team.
Tebow. I hope he does too. I just don't think he will.
I don't think he will either.
Yeah, I doubt it.
They didn't project him as a starter, which is good. But
You
Marvin Jones is on the Jaguars now. I didn't know that Detroit let him go. That's good for Trevor Lawrence, dude. Veteran wide receiver.
Oh yeah, they got some good receivers on that team too. They got 2 really good ones.
DJ Chark
and Laviska Shenault.
Chark, dude.
Chark. Yeah, that Chark. DJ Chark doo. But you know who's not doo?
Calvin Johnson.
Definitely not Calvin Johnson.
Peyton
But I'm
Manning?
talking about swimming, dude. Oh. Jake, we're a swimming house.
Oh, we're not even going to cover.
We're not even going to talk about the Hall of Fame.
Well, swimming.
We'll do it kind of fast, but
no, I completely forgot about that. Sorry, Peyton. Sorry, Sherry.
Yeah, Jesus. Like 2 players that we watched growing up. Dude, this is how you know we're getting old. Is 2 players that we watched growing up is now being inducted in the Hall of Fame. Should Detroit give Calvin Johnson his money back? The world may never know.
That's such a weird story.
But, I mean, Peyton Manning, no doubt. Calvin Johnson, no doubt.
Peyton Manning, we'll just go through this. This is when he retired. Some of these have been broken. But NFL career passing touchdowns record, most passing yards in a career, that's been broken. So is the touchdown passes. Single season touchdown record, most passing yards season, most wins, including playoffs, most games throwing 300 yards plus, most passing touchdowns. That's probably like an 1/8 of his records.
That's crazy.
And to be fair, a lot of them has been broken by Tom Brady and Drew Brees.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Since he's retired, which kind of sucks. But you can't take away what an amazing career that he's had.
Oh, yeah.
And he's also seems to be one of the few players that haven't gotten CTE yet. He seems pretty normal. I mean, he's funny still.
His head's too big.
Big forehead shots.
I think he's very likable. He made, I think, almost $300 million through contracts, not including
like just NFL contracts.
Yeah, just
no
NFL,
endorsements.
Not
He's
including
also
endorsements.
Papa John's like part owner now too.
So if he's a billionaire, I would not be surprised.
Oh, no doubt, dude. No doubt. So, quick funny story about Peyton Manning. Before I like ever really followed the NFL, like I kind of followed it, but like never a big fan like I am now. My first year playing fantasy football, I didn't know how to play, and I picked Peyton Manning up off of waivers, and that was the year he broke all those records for
55 touchdowns
for Denver.
Yeah.
Like I had him and Demaryius Thomas. I was like, this is easy. I'm gonna keep playing fantasy,
dude. Sorry, real quick. That is so weird though. Like the year he throws 55 touchdowns, he doesn't win the Super Bowl, and then the next year when his defense is amazing and he throws like maybe 18 all year or whatever when he was super shitty and played terrible in the Super Bowl, he wins. It's so weird. Anyway,
that's crazy. Took one away from Cam.
That is true. But I mean, first ballot, right?
Oh, no
Both
doubt.
of those probably first ballot.
Oh, first ballot for sure.
And then there were some other guys, but we didn't grow up
For
with them.
shizzle.
Oh, Alan Phoenicia. Is that
Alan
you say?
Faneka.
Faneka?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's an lineman, right?
Yeah, he played for the Vikings, right?
Yeah.
He was the guy who like rode off in the sunset. Yeah. Yeah. Like legitimately rode off into the sunset. But, all right. Olympics.
Swimming talk. We're a swimming house, Jake. We watched a lot of swimming over the last 2 weeks, right?
A lot of swimming.
We watched a lot of swimming.
There is so many swims.
Oh, so many swims.
So many.
Yeah, we're talking to our roommate, right? And he was a swimmer in high school, and I'm asking him like, I was like, this guy's really good. He's like, oh yeah, this guy's like one of the best in the world. I was like, really? Is he?
Yeah, I've never seen anyone that knows swimmer by name.
He does.
Like he's like, who's this guy?
Well, he follows it though. This guy was.
Yeah,
This guy was a swimmer. No, like current. Like, he knew. Like,
he'll just be like, oh yeah, that guy's a Florida State swimmer. He swam a fucking 10-4 or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, he knows all this shit. But I'll be watching and be like, this guy's really fucking. Oh, this dude's so fast. He's one of the fastest in the world. He's gonna win this by a mile, right? And And the dude wins it by a mile, right? He just kicks their ass. I'm like, holy shit, that dude's insane. He's going to win like all the gold medals. See how much faster he was? Then we're watching another event. I was like, where's the last dude? Oh, he doesn't swim this event. Why not? I thought you said he was like one of the fastest in the world. Oh, it's a different stroke. You know, he can do that one faster than anybody. But this one, he's like terrible. Dude, it's swimming. like I understand the strokes are definitely different, right? You know, breaststroke is super weird compared to doing freestyle. But like you'd think if you were just that dominant at doing this,
Griffin.
you could be dominant at doing this. You could be dominant at doing this.
I want to point out that I am college educated in swimming.
Yeah.
College educated. One of the hardest classes that I've ever taken in college.
I know you told us that.
Dude, like swimming is not just swimming. That shit's hard.
But what I'm saying is when you're at that level, you're like this dude dominating people in the freestyle or dominating people in the breaststroke, whatever stroke there is, completely fucking
no doubt.
Shitting them out of the water, right?
No doubt.
And then they do a stroke that's a little bit different. Obviously, there are ones a lot slower than the other ones, but a stroke that's different. Mm-hmm. And there might be some swimming person listening that just tears me to shreds right now.
I hope
like,
so.
I don't understand how
it's always great when the tables are turned.
Like I can understand if like I was out there, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm way better at freestyle than I am at backstroke or something, right? But when you got a guy that's that good or a girl that's that good at that one stroke, you think they would be really fucking good at another one. But I mean, I guess you can say that some people are just built different. For different
dude,
strokes.
there's so many examples of why you're wrong here.
Okay.
I'd be like going on a football team, like you're good at O-line, but not wide receiver.
Like what the fuck?
Why would you be good at O-line, but not wide receiver?
That's a little drastic though, because of the size difference. It's like the same person. That can
It'd
do
be like going to a
strokes,
downhill skier and be like, why can't you do freestyle skiing? Why are you only downhill skier?
Again, I think it's a little bit.
I mean, it's similar though. You can go through like millions of examples.
All right,
Millions.
Group me, roast them.
Anyway, what I want to say
out of this one,
we got a lot into swimming. Caleb Dressel's insane. He's the dude I was talking about that swims faster than everybody.
Oh yeah, what does he have? 5 golds right now?
Fucking insane.
6 golds.
He's so fast.
You know how many silvers he's got?
I don't know.
0.
Probably,
You know how many bronze he's got? 0.
Damn.
All gold medals, baby.
Dressel.
has he
Beast.
not ranked or not ranked or what do you call it?
I don't know.
Podiumed.
Oh
Yeah, he's got
gold medals.
like 5 gold medals.
But like, has he not podiumed?
Oh no,
in
he's
any
5
race?
for 5 or something.
Is he 5 for 5?
He's insane, dude.
Yeah,
he's so freaking good. That's the one thing I want to say too. I see some dweebs out there on the internet.
I will say that swimming kind of took over the Olympics though, because if you look at like the top medal counts for Olympians, it's like all swimmer.
Yeah.
There's too many events.
Oh yeah, there's tons of events.
It's kind
All
of cheap.
the strokes you got.
I know, but it's so many events.
They did a new one this year. It was cool.
You're like,
It
oh,
was-
who's got the most medals? And it's like literally 15 swimmers before
had
you
like
get to a non-swimmer.
They had
for
like
medals.
the cross medley this year. It was cool. So like, they had the medley where they do all 4 strokes, one time up and down for each stroke. They had the cross medley where it was 2 guys and 2 girls, and you could pick them to do any stroke you wanted. So they just picked the fastest time possible based off all their strokes. And I thought that was kind of cool. It was 2 guys, 2 girls on the same team. But I wanted to call out some dweebs
Sounded
on the
very
internet.
sexual.
I want to call out some dweebs in the internet that are saying that Caleb Dressel is better than Michael Phelps, right? Because the reasoning is that like his times are faster, right? Michael Phelps even said it himself. Times get faster every year. People figure out how to go faster every time, right? So that when we're thinking, you put Michael Phelps with today's amount of training to all the times going down and everything, Michael Phelps was blowing shit holes out of the water when he was in the water, right? He was just destroying them, right? Does he come back and just do the same thing nowadays? You think he like barely beats them? Because technically these times are faster, but
The times are faster than he's faster.
you think so?
Pretty clear.
That's like me trying to say that AJ Green and Calvin Johnson are the same, and you're like, no, Calvin Johnson played in a different league or a different
Calvin
era.
Johnson was way better.
Yeah,
but,
whoever runs the 100-meter faster than
No, but
what's his name?
so
Usain Bolt.
Yeah, whoever runs it faster than Usain Bolt is now going to be the best
that's
runner
why I'm
ever.
asking.
He's going to be the fastest man in the world.
No, I
Yeah.
understand that. That's why I'm asking. I want to see what you said. So do you think he's better than Michael Phelps?
For that, if you
I mean, if
beat
his
the records,
times are
yeah.
faster, then
Because
yeah.
the one thing I was trying to point out, right, and this was from Michael
Medal-wise,
Phelps.
no.
More dominant?
This
Probably
was
not.
from Michael Phelps, not from me. From Michael Phelps, he said that every year times get faster. That's why the world record is broken pretty much every single year in certain cases. He goes, every year the times get faster. He goes, training gets better and all this other stuff gets better. So I think what he was leaning into was that, like, here was my times and I was dominating people. There was no one at that time where it's fast. All the people that are competing this time was that, like, competition gets better, everyone gets better. So I think he was trying to imply that if he would have been the same age as all these guys breaking these records today, he'd be the one breaking the records, like saying, I'm better than them.
That's just like saying like Babe Ruth and Mike Trout are the same players. Like they still played the same sport and still did great, but they
I
played
think that's
in
a little more
different
drastic
eras.
than 2008 to 2021, though. That's a big.
I mean, in an Olympic sport, that's a pretty big
what I'm saying is
evolution.
Baseball's way different than that 100-year span you named. It's not as different.
Yeah, but
as
swimming's like
over the
all
years.
the variables are the same.
Yeah,
No, I
Like
understand
you're
what you're
indoor,
saying.
you're in a
but
pool.
what-
If your times are faster, you're faster than Phelps.
well, the-
actually, it
well, the
depends
thing-
on the water.
Well, no, I
Like
agree
the
with that.
hardness and softness
Yeah.
of it.
But
No,
you,
can
at
go-
the Olympic stage, you think it'd be the same.
No,
you would think,
yeah.
Right.
But I don't know.
They could
Jay,
point at that.
I agree with that. He's faster than Michael Phelps. So I was asking, do you guys think he's a better swimmer or not?
Yeah.
That was the whole thing I was asking. He's definitely faster than
Not
Michael
more
Phelps.
dominant.
But yeah, I agree with that too.
Yeah.
But I think what he was pointing out, okay, is like all the people who timed all like the top 3 or 4 or 5 like finishers, right, would have beaten every single racer back in the 2008 races that Phelps was playing. So it's either one thing, he was facing terrible competition and dominating them, or just like every swimmer just gets better and better and better over the years.
All right, we'll put it this way. You guys have heard of Michael Phelps before, right?
Yeah, he's insane.
Yeah. Have you heard of Caleb Dressel before this Olympics?
No.
All right, point proven. Let's move on.
Then Katie Ledecky, you probably have heard of. She's a monster.
Yeah. She had like the top 20 records for one of the strokes.
She was lapping fools. She's insane still. She lost the shorter races this year, which is the first time she ever did that, but she goes in the mile race. Yeah. I want to ask you that, Zach. She did the mile in, what do they put on here?
15:37.
15:37.
It's crazy.
15:37. If you were to do it prepped up, you had the same amount of training, but just yourself right now, like you got yourself in the mood, you're ready to swim, you had a pregame snack, you had your pregame shit, right?
Yep.
You're ready to go. You're in peak performance. What do you think you could swim a mile in? You can take breaks if you have to, but what do you think you could swim a mile just straight? What do you think you get?
I've gotten close, and the closest that I've swam in, it was 36 minutes. So
think about that.
Like
that's insane.
That's like almost half. Like what I did mine in.
Yeah, I mean, we're not. By the way, Zach's not like a trained swimmer or anything like that, right?
He's college educated,
but he's not a trained swimmer. he's prepping for his Ironman, obviously, right? And I was just curious. Like,
I'm gonna go to the pool and swim, and Zach's gonna have a clipboard and be like, "Yes, yes, sir."
It's not. Yeah, it's not. I'd say it's not like Zach's like an Olympian, but he's like in pretty good shape.
The coefficient of drag is very high, sir.
He's training. He's training swimming so he can do his Ironman. So he's had some training, but 20 minutes faster. That's just insane.
Dude, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Like
she's a machine.
I've swam next to people like because there's 2 lanes in the lap pool, and dude, like there are people like I feel like I'm going fast, dude, and they're lapping me like 2-3 times. I'm like, holy shit! Like how are you swimming this fast? But some of them have fins, so I kind of think that they're cheating.
Oh yeah, fucking big time.
Pisses me off when I'm getting lapped by somebody with fins.
Zach's out there. Why is this guy faster than me, dude?
Well,
trying his fucking little heart out. Dude, just casually lapping with fins on.
No. They're hand fins, so you really got to look at them. Like, have you ever seen them? They're like workout gloves,
like
but they have like webs, so they can pull water better than I can.
I thought you were talking about foot flippers.
That's what I thought too. Like he's scuba diving, just like
lapping you.
Yeah, they're gonna lap you.
Fucking trying to keep up with some.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. All right, you just want to end on that?
Fuck yeah, end this shit.
All right, Jake, end this shit.
All right. Thank you. If you're still listening, an hour and 26 minutes in, probably the longest we've done in a while, but not the longest ever.
It's probably a little longer than that.
Not the longest ever.
We've made some
like 2+ hours ones.
So thank you guys for listening. Give us your opinions on what you think about our sports debates, and you can give those at Gridiron Garage Pod, Instagram, or Twitter. So thank you for listening. We're out.